Welcome to another episode of Mugscast. We're actually doing something a little different today from Marvel, which is kind of nice.
Yep, but
Ben.
kind of in a similar vein, almost. I mean, technically these aren't like what ifs, but it's a similar. I feel like it's a similar like style and sort of concept in that way. But yeah, Star Wars Visions. The full series is out. Very short, 9 episodes. They cap out at about like one's like I think 23 minutes. That's like the max length.
Yeah,
so
and then the shortest one is like 14.
There. Yeah, it's really just kind of a nice little anthology of different little stories throughout the universe.
So let's just real quick. What did you think of the whole thing?
As a whole, I mean, it's hard to really like quantify it as a whole because it's not really like it's not a cohesive whole thing.
No, it's not. I think it was.
I think it was all right.
I think it was amazing. Well, of course, it's like that on purpose, but I think overall, it's amazing to the lore. The animation was really well done. You just got to think of it as anime. You can't think of it as Star Wars. You got to be, if you're a huge Star Wars fan who's all like, oh no, this would be impossible with whatever, then you shouldn't watch this. But if you're going to this open-minded, thinking you're watching an anime that's loosely based around Star Wars, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I think
really, really badass moments.
There is a thing though that I do want to talk about though is the fact that most of these, aside from one episode, which we'll get to in a second, most of these do like pretty much like they follow like they don't like blow Star Wars rules out of the water. Not that there's any rules, but they don't like go crazy aside from one episode, and I think you know the episode I'm talking about, but
probably yeah.
But we'll get to it in a minute. We'll go through them each and kind of talk a little bit about each one.
Yeah, I have each episode. I have notes on each episode. That's really not long at all. Like I mean, long at all.
I've got the ones the ones that I liked more. I've got more on, and the notes actually kind of diminish as we get deeper in. Some of them
my notes diminish. As I say, I think there's one I don't have notes on at all. I guarantee it's the same one that you. But let's go ahead and start with episode 1, the Duel.
Mm-hmm.
This style to this is, it's like that black and white old school samurai movie, but at the same time, it's also like manga.
I think this is. I can't remember off top, but I noted it specifically here. I think this might be the only one that starts with the classic like pan down from the stars. Out of all these episodes, I'm pretty sure it's the one, which is kind of cool considering it is the first episode.
Yeah.
And smart of them to make this one the first one because this is one that's gonna get people to dive in for sure.
Yeah, it is. Very, very cool. I mean, we get the Wanderer, and he walks into the village, whatever, and and then you get that whole typical like samurai movie type where the village gets attacked by like bandits. Don't even think of it as a Star Wars. It's typical like samurai like. You have like a wanderer who enters a town and then boom, they get attacked by bandits. In this case, it's I don't even know what to call them. They're just bandits.
Yeah,
because they're not stormtroopers, but they have partial stormtrooper armor, which clearly means they destroyed stormtroopers and took pieces.
They took it's actually clone armor. I could tell it's like phase 3 clone armor. So I can't remember exactly when this one takes place. When they said it takes place, I assume it's post Revenge of the Sith, or maybe not actually. But it's a little weird
that deep with the detail.
Like, some of them they do. This one they don't. It might actually be Clone Wars era, but yeah, they're wearing they're makeshift Clone Wars on like different pieces, and then they modified it. So that was pretty cool though. This episode also has really good like classic style like Star Wars music. I felt like they really put all of that kind of like easy to digest like classic Star Wars stuff into this first episode with the anime twist so that people can really easily
the character designs. The character designs were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have, they're getting attacked and they start kind of fighting back a little bit. And then you have this lady that jumps to the top of the building and then she pulls out a lightsaber, the most ridiculous lightsaber design ever. But at the same time, kind of cool because it ends up being a fucking umbrella lightsaber. It looks like crap.
Really liked it.
I was gonna say it looks like crap at first, but my God, the brutality of it is amazing. And then she Mary Poppins off the building with it.
I think at one point she like goes through somebody with it and then turns it on. And then I assume she pulled it through the guy, but they don't show it because it would be a little bit too much. But there's a lot. There's just so much that you could do with that.
Yeah. And then she's fighting them and blah blah blah. And then this wanderer, comes and they're kind of having like a face down. And she ends up turning that umbrella saber into a single saber.
Or she pulls it out of the umbrella saber.
She pulls it out of the umbrella saber and tosses, And then we get the big, like, what? because then he turns on his lightsaber and it's red.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, what? Wait a minute. And it's like, it's very cool because he puts on his red lightsaber and it's not a regular saber. It's like a katana saber, which is also really cool.
Throughout the series.
Yes, we do. We very much so do. And then we got a Sith versus, it's not a Sith, but
yeah, that's the thing. This is the episode that left me with the most questions because
but at the same time it didn't, because it looks like he's a Sith hunter and then he collects the crystals.
The question is like, what is he a former Jedi? Is he a Jedi in hiding? What era is this?
Yeah.
Why is he collecting? If he collects the crystals, why is he using one? That would make me think that he's not a Jedi because Jedi typically would not use the red crystal.
No, of course not. Which is why I don't think he's a Jedi either.
I don't know, but you never know.
He's just some really swordsman that's just killing
that.
people. Yeah, I'm just saying he could have been literally just a random, just amazing fucking lightsaber wielder.
Yeah, I mean, like Grievous, just kind of take lightsabers, make a collection out of it, except kind of reverse.
But overall, this episode was a really good start to the whole thing.
Yeah, there was. I also probably my favorite thing about the episode is the black and white style, but keeping the color of everything.
Yes, that was really
visually
cool.
Very pleasing. And I also noticed there's some yellow blaster bolts, which I don't know. Like, I might be misremembering. Maybe there's something like that in the Clone Wars at some point, but yellow blaster bolts, I feel like that's a first.
I think maybe. I don't think so. I feel like I've seen it.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking, certainly not in the main movies, but definitely like.
Yeah, no, not in the main movies, but I think it's like a side thing.
There is,
but yeah, overall, this episode's really good.
Yeah, it is, and that first, I also just love when they're dueling the first strike that she does on him. Like everything drops out and it's completely silent just for that first hit.
Yes.
And then there's
the way she's defeated.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, the way she's defeated was cool, but also that point where she drops down and uses the log, just slightly pulls the log forward to split the waterfall. Just like little details like that really made the.
And it's not even just that; it's how smart and how trusting he was of this dude. Because there's a point where they deflect the blaster, and the blaster hits his droid, and he says, "You have until this water boils to fix my droid." And the reason he said that was because when the water boils, it's a teapot, and you hear it do the the loud like alarm sound or whatever. I'm not alarm, sorry, the loud like whistle.
Yeah.
And so at that point, he's like, "Okay, well, this fucking drone better be fixed," and he activates it and he uses it, and like it's just really smart. It's like and then the way he visually how awesome it was when he beat her, where the log is, like you said, the log is pulled forward because she sees the red lightsaber. And so she goes to attack it, and then boom! It's so good.
And the last thing I wanted to say is there is a point. If anybody else has noticed this the way that I did, I don't know why I noticed it, but there's a point where the music has kind of a switch up. I can't remember it now. I watched everything like a couple of days ago, so I can remember the exact point when it happens. There's a change. There's a change in the music at some point where there's this kind of like weird, kind of choiry vocals or something that's very reminiscent of something in Solo. It's some music from the Solo Star Wars story, and I noticed that. I thought that was cool. I really love that music. It's one of my favorite things from that movie.
But it was only for like a little bit.
Yeah, it was a split, just a quick change in the music. But great.
Yeah, I mean, this episode's great. It hooked me in. Then we got our second episode. It's called Tatooine Rhapsody. Yeah, I wrote every episode name down. This one was different. But it wasn't horrible. The animation very much reminded me of like, have you ever seen like the Gorillaz music video?
Yeah. I mean,
it reminded me somewhat of that. Because especially this is like music heavy. But you have the kid. I can't remember his name right now. I believe it's like
Jay, maybe.
I think so. And you have them, and they're like at a concert. Technically, you have him running, and then he meets the guy.
I gotta say though, I was so like, I was like, oh, okay. Like right off the bat, I was like, oh, we're doing like some like Clone Wars, like Padawan escape, like something.
Yes.
And you would assume that's probably like maybe like Order 66, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming.
I'm like, this is really interesting. And then obviously took a different turn. I didn't hate where it went.
No. I actually didn't dislike this episode at all. I didn't dislike this episode. I actually have one episode that I hate. We'll talk about it when I get there. So so then it's very Boba Fett, who looks chibi.
It's Yeah, I be honest. I wasn't feeling the way he looks in this style. He looks a little bit too much like a bobblehead as compared to every other
That's
character.
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah,
like it just doesn't. It doesn't. There's points where I'm like, oh, okay, kind of, but then it like cuts to a front on angle of him, and it looks like his head's about to fall off.
It's funny because I usually like Chibi. I'm a sucker for Chibi, but it did not work for Boba Fett's case.
Yeah, not really.
But anyways, so they decided to fight the bounty hunters. They said, "Fuck it."
Yeah,
and we have Boba Fett.
There's a Wilhelm scream, just like a classic callback to Star Wars. I think it's the only one that shows up in, but
anyways, Boba Fett keeps up, of course, and they capture the guy whose name I can't remember, and Jay's like, "No, this is my." I think so, but he's like, this is my best friend. We can't just ditch him, blah blah blah. So then you find out that they make a deal with Jabba. Is it Jabba? Yeah. To play. Yeah, to play
like
one last time
right before he dies.
And so they play the show, and it's like at first it was cringing. I'm not gonna lie, the music had me like cringing really hard at first.
No, the song was great.
No, it grows on you. It grows on you. But at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I was watching it with somebody else, and I was like, "What anime is this going to be an intro to?" Like it sounds like an anime intro song for real.
But and it felt like a battle of the singular band to me, where it's like they were just battling themselves. But and then it's funny because you get like you clearly see Jabba, and he's kind of like vibing to the music because he's tapping his tail, and then so they're like, wait, first things first, let's not overlook the mic saber. That was weird.
I don't know how that works.
I mean, either, but just hope he doesn't accidentally open it and fucking cut himself.
Yeah, well, I guess it doesn't work, but.
Yeah. But, and then he's like, you should sign us as sponsors. You see how much people like us. And so he agrees. And then you have the second song that plays and fucking Boba Fett's vibing to it.
Yeah,
it's just like it's a very happy episode. It's not as dark as some of these episodes get.
It's
definitely a more lighthearted.
I think that this would have been a higher, like I would have enjoyed this. This would have like actually been an episode I really liked if at the end they did still have like a kind of like a fight. Like he pulled out the lightsaber, the mic lightsaber, used it, had some cool like just like some nice action in it up. I think it would have made perfect sense. Like that's the kind of sense that I got from it was that they were using this as a setup to break him out of there, not to
not to,
I feel like they were leading up to that, but
Yep, same. That's exactly what I thought they were going with it. And then it was still a good episode, but it was like, there's going to be no fighting at all. It's just battle of the band.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying like this is like a terrible episode. I mean, it's one of the weaker ones for sure, but I don't dislike it. Like it has a charm to it.
Yeah. Then we have episode 3 because there's really not much more to talk about episode 2. Episode 3 is my third or fourth favorite episode. It's called The Twins. And we have right off the bat, you have these combined Star Destroyers. They're called the Gemini Destroyer.
Yeah. So when I was watching this, we both noticed immediately, like the first like 2 or 3 shots of this episode, immediately you notice there's this intense like symmetry. Like everything, there's 2 Star Destroyers. There's a shot of a hallway, a split. All the stormtroopers are aligned exactly the same on both sides. I'm like, oh, okay, they're really leaning into this twins thing, which I liked.
Yeah. And then we get. The main character, I believe his name's Car. Car, I think is what it is.
I don't remember.
I think it's Car. I'm pretty sure it's Car or something like that because she's Am and he's like Car. But anyway, so you have him walking, down the path and he's heading towards the Kaiser Crystal or whatever the hell it's called, Kyber Crystal.
Kyber Crystal, yeah. Yeah,
Kyber Crystal. And so anyways, but you don't know what he's doing. He gets there and then boom, we get over to Am and she's talking to the droid or whatever and they go over some subtle things like, oh, you guys are wearing this dark armor and you have no idea what kind of bad effects it could have on you. And so, they kind of throw that out there, as something that's obviously going to happen later in the episode. So, then all of a sudden that iconic alarm sounds, what I'm talking about, that blaring alarm. Right. So then she's like, oh, well, where's Car? And boom, like he's stealing the crystal and he's leaving and it's very, it's good. It's a build up. Obviously something's going to happen, and it's very nicely built up. Mm-hmm. This is something that I could see them, further pursuing, which is possible because, like you said, there's a second season coming out. This one I really enjoyed. We have moments where it's like, he does that hallway part where you get to see his power with the Force easily, where he he pushes everybody like really hard.
That was cool.
And then they have a little mini showdown, and he leaves, he escapes, and then you get to see her power where she literally takes the what is it? What are they called? Is it a Y-wing?
X-wing. Which I was very confused by that. That's one of the biggest questions I have this episode is how did he sneak an X-wing onto that Star Destroyer?
Yeah, but that's the thing though, right? I don't think he did. I think they probably had one captured. Because think about it, they capture people and they'll leave them on the base for sure. That's not even that's not even like a big thing. But he ends up escaping with that, and she pulls it in like nothing, man. Like she literally just like she pulls it in and she takes the kyber crystal out through, and then he's floating in space. Now, this is where you really have to let your mind be free for a second, because in reality, that's bullshit. There's no way he would survive that.
Yeah. I was thinking that when I thought, I was like, okay, so like after I finished, I was like, okay, that's like they're just breathing in space. But there is kind of and I wanted to talk about this as well, like the kind of they kind of talk about it a little bit. But they don't go into detail, like that they are like they were created and incepted essentially. Like,
yes. See, so Rachel was also saying the same thing.
So I'm thinking.
But I also was thinking they could be using. I was also thinking it could just be possible they're using the Force to protect themselves. Yeah. I mean, in Star Wars, Leia literally got like fucking blown out of the ship, and she pulled herself back in and kept herself alive using the Force. So that's literally all I thought. Yeah. I was like, and they're supposed to be these immensely Force powerful characters. So that was literally my first thought. And then Rachel said, "Oh, well, you're the creator," and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense, actually."
Yeah, the Force creation thing I thought was very interesting because, as you might know, there's that whole thing from the comics where I think it was canon for a while, but they changed it probably once Disney got it about Star Wars that Palpatine had created Anakin and basically incepted Shmi with him. So I feel like that's an interesting thing to see that come into play here. Into something that, I mean, I guess these aren't canon, but it is more of an official.
They're not, but they're very cool though. It's still very awesome, and I hope they end up being canon in some way or another. But they're good they're not perfect at all, but they're good. They're very entertaining. I could definitely watch more of a lot of these different twists. But anyways,
I have one question as well though. We didn't say. Did you watch this in sub or dub?
No, I watched it in dub. I'm not one of those sub snobs, bro. I'm really not. I can watch it in dub. I don't give a fuck. I could definitely watch more. Did you watch it in sub? I'm assuming.
Yeah, we did. We watched. What's the Duel? We watched it in dub, and then we got to the second one, and we were like, well, let's see how it is on sub, and we just liked the acting better on sub. So I just watched the rest. Okay. So the only one I did watch in dub was the first one.
Anyway, so they're fighting, and this episode gets a little ridiculous, but it's still kind of cool. You have the typical red versus blue imagery, where she's shooting the red lightning, he's shooting the blue lightning, and they split the freaking kyber crystal. I could talk about this episode. This definitely is the one where I have a little bit more heavier notes on. But anyways, they split the crystal. He gets a smaller piece than she does. She puts it into her armor, and then we get like where he's talking to her. Clearly, it's in the mind. It has to be in the mind.
Yeah,
and he's like showing her the future, like this is gonna fuck you up, like you really shouldn't do this. And she's like, "You think I'm scared of death, you little bitch?" And she kicks him out, and then they start fighting. And so she has like, these these saber whips, and it's very cool.
He puts his piece into his lightsaber, which kind of changes the color, and I actually love the kind of like color gradient on that.
It's super powered. It's not even just that. It's like super powered. It's like a steroid version of the lightsaber because he extends it like ridiculously.
Well, that's when he uses the hyperdrive or whatever that was supposed to be. Like
no. Even before the hyperdrive, when he dives at her, he literally extends it like it's a fucking power pole from Dragon Ball Z. Like he literally extends it out, and then he like follows up with it. And at first I thought maybe it was like an animation choice, but no, he literally extended it out at her. And then he like dived down on her. But they have a really badass back and forth. But before that, I had to make the joke where she does like the 6 arms. I literally was like, General Kenobi. I had to because like, I mean, come on now. But they have like this really badass back and forth, like I said, and then you end up having like she kind of beats him. She does, which it's kind of expected. It's 6 sabers versus 1, and she throws the shit out of him. And our duo catches him.
Yeah.
And our duo's like, "Oh, you could try this," and he's like, "I don't want to be too reckless." And our duo with like no hesitation is like, "Oh no, we're doing this." And he just takes off on the ship.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, they were like, we have to use the hyperdrive, but like, what did he do? Like nothing. He didn't hook the lightsaber or anything. He didn't do anything. They didn't make a jump.
No, he just used it. He just used it to destroy. He used it to destroy the ship. And like basically fuck her
But
up.
something's powered up his lightsaber. What powered up his lightsaber? That's what I don't understand.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't get that either.
Like it seemed like they were suggesting that he was going
to
take a power boost from the hyperdrive, but he doesn't hook it up to anything. It just all of a sudden he has immense, massive, like mega saber. Yeah,
yeah.
The Uber saber.
Yeah. But anyways, they hit us with that line. Oh, there is no try. It's do or whatever, which is
like a reverse weird way to say it.
He beats her and he fucking splits the whole destroyer. Very cool imagery. Like image wise, it looked amazing.
It was. I mean, it was pretty much exactly like The Last Jedi. But I felt like I mean, I might be alone in this, but I feel like it kind of lingered on it a little bit too long. Like there was like a good 5 or 10 seconds longer than it needed to sit on that shot. I was like, is this is it going to end?
I thought it was over. Yes. I thought it was over too. I was like, I guess this is where they're ending it.
Like we're really sitting on this one.
He's on like a sandy planet. I don't want to say it's Tatooine or whatever, but
somewhere. There's
somewhere
a lot of sandy planets.
There's a lot of sandy, but he's on a sandy planet, and he's like, "Oh no, we'll find her." And it's funny because listening back to it, because I was showing Rachel the episode. I watched the second time just now, and it's funny because at first I thought he was referring to his sister, which he kind of is, but I kind of feel like they lingered more like he's trying to find their mother, and I put quotation marks when I say that. So I wonder if that's what they're leaning towards. Is like he wants to find his mother.
Could be both.
It could be both. That's what I'm saying. It was weird. But because like he was talking to like the way he put one of the sentences, he's like, oh, she's out there somewhere. She's like, and then like it makes it seem like he's talking about somebody else, and then he mentions his sister after. And I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this episode was cool. It definitely broke some canon.
I liked a lot of the concept. I like the style for this one. I super enjoyed.
Yes,
I kind of like the concept of the Gemini class destroyer, like combining two in the middle. That was a cool design, and I mean that's about it. I actually didn't love this episode. Like of the three that I had watched so far, this one was my least favorite.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I didn't expect that because.
It didn't. I don't know. It didn't. I got to a point where I was like, because this is what I was talking about earlier. It
was very anime.
All of the rest of these are very believably like they're anime styled and have that still have those insane moments. But without being like, okay, well. Nah, like he's not making a giant.
So I'm assuming we're both on the same picture that this one was very ridiculous in terms of
for sure. And I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a bad thing in context of the rest of the series. And
listen, I'll say this
real quick.
The only
one that is that way.
I'll say this real quick. This is more or less what I expected What If to be. I'm gonna just be honest right now. Like, I actually like this better than What If so far. Don't get me wrong. What If's got some good shit. But I like this because they just went balls to the wall on everything on here. They threw shit at it and they were like, we're going to try this. And like, I really wanted them to do this with Marvel. Like I wanted them to do
this is a different thing.
I know.
I get it. It's a whole different concept because I was thinking watching this, I was like, I would love it if they did a Star Wars What If. Because the whole point of What If is what if things in the movies happen differently, not what if.
I know.
Let's show some other stories. Because I would love it if they did both vice versa, like if they did a Marvel version of this and then they did a Star Wars version of What If. Those would be fantastic, I think. Not even necessarily just like the anime thing. Like it doesn't have to be anime style if they did it for Marvel. Whatever they do with it, just so long as they make like an anthology series like this, I think it's a great idea. For Marvel would be fantastic.
So we have episode 4, and it's called The Village Bride.
Yep.
And like right off the bat, it's extremely vibrant, like very vibrant. I actually at first was very uninterested with this episode. I was watching it, but it starts so slow. My God, bro, it's a very slow crawl.
It's a nightmare.
And it starts to build up to something, and it's building up to something, especially when they show the characters, the side characters. And then you find out that Haru is the girl, and she's sacrificing herself for the village, so they don't take the village chief or whatever, which is pathetic on the chief's part. And Asu gets married to Haru, whatever. They're at a wedding. And then you have a resistance group that gets formed by her sister named Saku, who doesn't agree with the sacrifice. She thinks it's not right. So, she's supposed to be picked up the day after the wedding, and she says something like, oh, you're not supposed to mourn during a wedding. They build it. They build it up as this believable, like, hey, this is like a really fucked up situation. This episode kind of fails a little bit, but
that's the problem. Is it's just very reminiscent. This and Tatooine Rhapsody specifically just feel like those one-off, very like the weaker Clone Wars episodes.
Weaker ones. Yes, for sure.
There was easily be an episode like this in Clone Wars.
Yeah, but there was some funny moments because then you find out that the droids were left behind, so some other group took it over, and they're your typical droids, and they're so fucking funny, dude. Like they actually made me laugh. They made me laugh this episode because they were like, at some points they were saying some of those random rambling bullshit. Like he was like, at one point when like something happened, and you're like, Jesus Christ, dude. I forgot droids are ridiculous as shit. They get taken out very quickly. By like this badass sniper-esque character.
That was the thing is I loved the characters in this. Like I loved the main girl
and then you get the main girl and she has a gold yellow katana saber. Dude, when I saw that I was like, okay, that's very cool looking.
I wish that the rest of the episode had lived up to those two characters. Yes, like, I was so intrigued by them, but there's just nothing to this episode.
Exactly. I didn't care for this episode as much. It was a very slow burn. You could tell it was building up to something. Then you have these two very badass fighters, and boom, it fizzles out. It was like, okay, I don't have to watch.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, I think it's nothing until you get that end part. Like, but even then, it's not mind blowing. It's like a typical, it's a very typical attack, and that's it. It is very nice to see that, like with a lightsaber, and she just seems like such a cool character. But that's it. And I didn't care about anything else in the episode. Like that was. I did notice the ship that the bad guy arrives on is like a modified version of the not the Falcon, but whatever.
The
freighter.
Yeah, it is. It is a Falcon, isn't it? That model. That model.
That model of
that model of ship. Yeah, but So overall, this episode was okay. It's definitely not up there. It's down. It's very weak. It's definitely one of the weaker episodes. For sure. Then we have episode 5, which is called the Ninth Jedi. This is my second favorite episode. What? No, second. I'll tell you why. But this is definitely
your favorite.
No.
Oh, okay.
You probably won't agree with it, but we'll talk about it when we get there. But this is my second favorite episode. Actually, I don't even say second. This and the other one are my favorite. They're very close, neck and neck, very good. This I was absolutely 100% on board. Give me more. This is the episode that I was like, okay. This has fucking potential. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, the concept to this color changing sabers depending on the force ability or like the force like attunement of the wielder, bro.
Yep.
When he did that, I was like, okay, that's amazing.
It's interesting though how many of these there are that is like this again
should have been a bigger thing.
This could be like a whole arc in like Star Wars Rebels.
That's exactly, bro. That's what I said. I was like, they could have done a whole season based around this episode. You have okay, let's go over it real quick. So you have these mysterious Jedi that end up coming to this place because they're called on by I can't remember his name right now.
It starts with an M.
The Magister, Mastre, whatever.
Something.
His name's Kolu, I think, or Kovu, or some whatever. So they get called and they're told, "Hey, we're trying to bring some Jedi's together and we're gonna make sabers for people." And so you get these. It's called the Ninth Jedi, but you get these 7 individuals that show up to this area.
Right.
So they're waiting on that individual to show up that invited them. So we get a little bit of a nice little talk on them, and then it skips to this girl that is on her way to go see her dad, who is the saber blacksmith, essentially.
Sabersmith, yeah.
Yeah, the sabersmith. And so he makes the sabers and he explains, which is funny because if you were paying attention, you would have found out, oh shit, he was a Jedi. Because he says, these sabers, they change color depending on the attunement of the wielder. And his is fucking blue. His is like blue as shit. And then he turns it off, he gives it to her. And it's funny because at first I thought they made a mistake because he didn't explain it right away. And she turns it on. It's like she has like a very uncolored, jadish looking saber. Mm-hmm. And I was like, they just made a mistake. That's so weird. And then he's like, oh, it changes colors. And I was like, oh, she has no force attunement. Right. And I was like, this is really fucking cool. I didn't even stop to think, oh, his is blue. He's a fucking Jedi at some point, clearly.
They say that he's like, you're not there yet. You don't have that much yet.
Yeah,
as soon as she leaves, she starts doing like very
because
Jedi
he said yes, but he did say you're very gifted with a lightsaber on wielding it, but you're not in tune with the Force. Now, you can use a lightsaber without knowing how to use the Force. You can just be very gifted in using a saber. And you could be badass, you're just not in tune with the Force. That is possible. That is 100% a possibility. Not saying that you see it a lot, but back when, like, before Disney bought Star Wars, there were stories where people would use lightsabers, but they weren't in tune with the Force at all. So
it
doesn't blow my mind.
Clearly, like, and I think it's, I guess it must just be like
it's a build up.
Like, instinctive ability
yes.
because she's driving backwards on a speeder, and
yes.
she's like flipping off of it, and it's like, okay, this is like something you would see like a fully trained Jedi doing. I'm like, she's just casually doing
but I do think she is supposed to be naturally gifted. I think that is what they're supposed to build up to. So then, she gets into that fight in the woods, and she's outrunning these two people that have captured her father, essentially, or one. Sorry.
Also, they're not just color changing; they're also length changing. We forgot to mention.
Yes.
The length also is affected.
Yes, you can do that. You can do that at will.
Yeah.
He said you can do that at will, which is weird. It's funny how you think about it that they don't really do that in Star Wars, where they change the length at will. At least I don't think. It's not a canon thing.
I think it's because it's not something you can do.
It's not something you're supposed to be able to do. Yeah, but I mean, the fact that I feel But anyways, so then we go back to the planet, and this is like I said, this is by far like my favorite episode next to the other one. Then we go back to the other group, and you start to learn a little bit more, and they're starting to get impatient because he's not there. And then the robot's like, oh, you guys, he's like, do you even have lightsabers, man? They're like, oh, you're looking for this, and they show one. And the person that opens it, he turns it on, and it's a blue lightsaber. And you're like, okay, this is cool, but like you don't get really much else. And then they're like, oh, something's coming. And she shows up, and she has all the lightsabers, and she's like, oh, if I give you these, can you guys help me find my father? And then we get that fucking amazing moment that I literally was like, I can't take my eyes off the screen right now, because they turn on the lightsabers, and it's, what is it, 6 of them? Yeah, 6 of them are red.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. And then you come to find out that the Magist, whatever the hell it was, I'm so mad I can't remember what he's called right now. And you come to find out he's been there the whole time in an Iron Man suit. That's what I called it. But he comes out of like this droid, and he's like, oh, I've been here all along. And they're like, pathetic. You've been like spying on us, blah, blah, blah. And then they have this awesomely animated duel. My God, she is naturally gifted, because you're right. She does fight like a fully trained Jedi.
Well, once she gets to this point, it seems like she's kind of more leaning in, like she's getting better at it at this point.
Yeah, she's getting, but she fights so naturally though.
Of keeping the episode short, but
yes, but she fights awesome though, like, and so does he.
And the guy whose name we can't remember, his lightsaber has like a ring around the bottom.
Oh, yes.
Like at first I was like, I guess it kind of looks like a hilt, and it kind of is, but it's like a fully floating ring, like just around the very bottom of the saber, which is,
and his is green, by the way, which.
Yeah.
For those who don't know saber colors, blue, if you have a blue saber color, it means you're basically normal-ish tunement with the Force, but you're also gifted in like dueling with a lightsaber. Green means you're very, very highly in tune with the Force. You're probably like among one of the strongest of Force wielders. Then you have purple, which purple means you dabble both and the dark side of the Force, and also just the regular, like, I don't want to say light side because it sounds so
balance,
cliche, but
basically.
Yeah, the balance. It's a balance within the both, but it's also dangerous, as we'll get to here in a moment. And then you obviously have red, which is Sith or dark Force energy. There's also more colors, but we're only going over the ones that you see in this episode. She goes from having like no color to green, which is amazing because clearly she's very much in tune with the Force. And they defeat these guys, and as they start to defeat these guys, they pan over to the one kid who's pathetic. I didn't care for him because he clearly needs training, but they pan over to the one kid, and that like fluffy, I don't know what the fuck he is looking dude. His lightsaber is no longer red. It's now purple. So because he was around so much dark Force energy, unfortunately he did get overcome by the dark side because he dabbles in both. So once they started to remove that dark side threat, he started to die back down to what he was, which is a wielder of both, which is, again, concept amazing. Like, this concept is good. This I was all in for, because then they're like, we're gonna save your father, and they do like this badass walkout, and then like they show you like that rock where they're like mining the crystals, and they flip it upside down. It's supposed to be like this big saber. Yeah, and it's like, okay, this episode definitely was the best one.
Yeah, easily.
I will say it's the best one, because honestly the other one I do like it a lot, but this one's definitely above it. This one was my favorite. This one was amazing. I was invested in the characters, the settings. I was invested in the lightsabers. I wanted more, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You agree though, right? Absolutely one of the best episodes?
Yeah, this is the best one. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. For sure. Okay. It's funny because when I watched this, I was like, oh, I don't think anything's going to beat this. And one came close to me personally, but it was good. This is definitely the best.
Is it episode 6, Toby?
That what? I like?
Yeah.
Dude, this episode was the worst. I have 3 notes on this.
Way!
I hate this episode, bro.
This episode was so good.
Please tell me you're being sarcastic.
I'm not joking. I loved this episode.
Really? I hate this episode so much. It's like Astro Boy animations.
Yes. This was top 3 for me. This was number 3.
Really? Wow, we're so opposite on this. I hated this episode. I hated everything about this episode.
This is what you were gonna say, because I was thinking like, what else could it be? Because the last 3 are not like crazy to me.
There's one that's crazy to me, but it's not as crazy, but it's good.
Dude, totally. So it's obviously based off of Astro Boy, which I already love.
It's not that I hated the episode. It's my least favorite, but it's my least favorite because I have a thing for robots that I don't care for. I don't like Gundam. I don't like anything like that. I hate robotic characters being main characters. I hate that shit. I'm not a fan of it. I'm just gonna be straight up right now. I'm not. Right off the bat, it threw me off. I was like, blah, this is lame. I'm not big on androids and robots being main characters. Whatever, dude. Anyways, so that's part of the reason I hated it. Now, I don't want to skip over the story. You go ahead and tell your notes because this is one of your episodes. So go ahead and carry on this conversation, and I'll talk as we go.
It's one of my episodes. I will claim this episode if nobody else will. I don't know. He's there. He's clearly with his creator. Who also
we say Astro Boy. Sorry. We say Astro Boy, but Astro Boy and Mega Man because this definitely reminded me of the Doctor. But yes,
for sure. My first thought was Mega Man, and then he stood up, and you can see that the design is very clearly Astro Boy. Which, to be fair, I mean obviously Mega Man is based off of Astro Boy, and so on and so forth.
Yes,
it's all kind of one big loop. But
yeah.
So he has dreams of being a Jedi, which I love when they show his kind of fantasy, the way that the style transitions and changes up in terms of the animation was very cool to me. And the whole episode, I don't know why.
Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. Let me interrupt you for a second. I don't want to say this is my least favorite episode, but this isn't to say it's a terrible episode because it's not terrible. Mm-hmm. There were some very awesome moments, and it is very well animated. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I for some reason out of the whole episode I got a very video gamey feel. I don't know why that was, and I mean obviously Mega Man and all that, but there was something just about the design of the environments and just something about the sounds and stuff that I just felt like I don't even know, something about it gave me a video game vibe. So let's see, his creator, I can't remember what they said the guy's name was. We'll just call him the professor. Yeah. He's like, wow, what do I how do I become a laser? He's like, there's a kyber crystal somewhere on this planet, and you're gonna have to go out and find it or whatever. He's like a moron, so he doesn't know what he means. He doesn't understand anything yet because he's very new to existence.
He's naive. He's very naive.
So he's just running around and looking into big rocks, and also he tells him you need to use the Force. And all this, and he's like, I don't know, what's the Force? Where do I find the Force? How does that work?
Yeah.
And so he's just running around searching through all this stuff, and he finally comes to the last place that he didn't think to check, which was the basement, which he's always been told to never go into. Yeah, at his house. And that's also not to mention, we kind of forgot to say, they're on this desolate planet that has no life at all, and the professor's whole mission is to create life with whatever he's experimenting on. Anyway, he goes into the basement, and there is what looks kind of to be like a T-16, that Luke flies on Tatooine. It kind of looks to be that kind of design, but maybe slightly different. But it could just be the animation style. And he hops in there, and he's like, "Hey, come kill me!" And then he hangs up, and then whoever it is hears him, and they send down the Empire hears him, and they send down stormtroopers or whoever comes down to get him. And he is told to stay underneath in the basement as the professor goes up, and he gives him the 2 halves of the lightsaber, or a lightsaber, which you would assume used to be his. And he goes up, and I don't know how much time was supposed to have passed. It seemed like he stayed down there for a little while.
Yeah, definitely.
And then he comes back up, and everything's in ruins. And the stormtroopers were polite enough to bury him, I guess.
I guess that's what was supposed to be. That, or he knew he was gonna die and made his own grave. I don't know, but
he dug his own grave.
Yeah, that part I was really okay. I was like,
I don't know when I saw that. I was kind of nobody else. Oh, unless the droids buried him. Unless
maybe actually that's true.
Yeah, that might be what it was.
Yeah, that's true.
But he comes up, he finds the grave, he puts the 2 halves of the lightsaber in the grave, and then my memory's a little fuzzy from there. Oh, he does the rest of the experiments. He continues on his experiments and succeeds in creating life. And then at this point, an Inquisitor shows up, which was interesting.
Yes, awesome.
That's the only
awesome.
mission that they get in this series.
Yes, it is. I think we're just made to believe that a lot of those red wielders are either Inquisitors or like
I
Sith.
definitely
what
got
are they
the
called?
vibe that
Sith radicals. The twins were what
radicals.
like Sith. What are they? No, not radicals. We're Sith like
acolytes.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, God, I couldn't remember the word. Dude. It's driving me nuts. Anyways,
this one obviously is an Inquisitor, and I think the Sith from the Duel definitely, and the twins as well.
The twins definitely were Inquisitors.
They all do give me Inquisitor vibes because of this unique, specific lightsabers, which is a very Inquisitor thing. Yeah. So then he assembles the lightsaber, and they have
Now here's where I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you real quick. I'll let you keep talking. I gave it absolute points because that final fight was very, very, very beautifully animated.
Yeah, for sure.
Not even just that. Did you notice that everything went black and white except for the sabers at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Like very colorless, very muted, except for the sabers, and like it made that fight so much more. And they were fighting, and it was like a very good build-up. It was very cool. And then like you get I will say that the concept of him using his droid as an attachment was amazing.
Yeah, like, so dope. I was like, that is like the
I like that a lot.
Anime like addition to one of these episodes that I've seen.
Yeah, I will say
such an anime thing, but it was so cool.
Yes, I will say that when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's fucking awesome. Like, there's no taking away from that. That was cool as shit. So yeah, that concept is very cool. He did get his arm fucking ripped off, but honestly, like that was very fucking cool. Very well animated fight towards the end there, and the concept of him using the droid was amazing. I will give it that.
Yeah. And he goes.
It's not my least favorite then, because my least favorite is probably the Rhapsody one, honestly. But even then, like again, it's not to take away from it. But this was a decent episode. It was still. It's funny. It's my least favorite, but it doesn't mean it was bad by any means at all.
Yeah. So he cuts through him, and then they cuts back. He's got that we'll just call it a T-16. He's got that T-16 set back up, and they're off to go and help other planets. And it just kind of sets up this nice little. I don't know. I really enjoyed the. I don't know. This one was very lighthearted, but in a good way.
I would watch
the Tatooine Rhapsody one was a little bit stranger. Like it was a little bit harder to buy and get into, but this one is like a very very nice, very fun one to watch. Like very easily, very good for kids and stuff for sure.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I don't want to take away from what it was because it was good. I did enjoy it. I would still watch more. So I'm not going to take that away from it. It was still enjoyable.
I would love to watch him grow up and become adult Toby and have it turn into this horrifying mature.
We did miss one part where they kind of made him human for like a second, where he was using the Force or he was in like his mind or whatever. And he like broke through like a barrier or whatever. Like, did you miss that part? Yeah, there's a part where I can't remember if he's in his mind or whatever, but he's like kind of floating, and then like they show him like what he would look like as a human, and then like he like I think it's like right before the fight. Yeah, it's like right before the fight, I believe. But that part was really cool. I was like, oh, his human design's kind of like awesome looking. But anyways, episode overall, it's pretty enjoyable. And we get to episode 7, and it's called The Elder.
Is this
and
it? Is the one?
I feel no.
Okay.
This was good. This was good.
Interesting.
This one was good, but. Fuck this episode. I'm mad at it because I thought it was heading in a direction, and I was like, "Oh, please head in this direction." I was like,
everyone's gonna die?
Do. No, not at all. I thought so. You remember when they were sitting? I got very Anakin and Obi-Wan vibes from these two because, like,
no, they're definitely Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, 100%.
Yeah, Qui-Gon. Sorry, you're right because he was all like, "No, calm yourself." He's like, I need to see some fucking action. And when he said, I feel some disturbance in the Force, I thought wholeheartedly, balls to the wall, bet all my fucking chips at the table that what was going to happen with this episode was he was trying to keep Dan away from the Elder, that Sith Lord, ex-Sith Lord, whatever the fuck he was. He was trying to keep him away because he was scared Dan was going to get pushed into the dark side. And I thought that's exactly where the episode was going to go. I thought Dan was going to become Sith or want to become Sith by the end of this. Like, that's the vibes that I got because he was like, oh, there's a disturbance. And it's literally right after he talked to him. And then they landed on the planet and he was like, oh, he's like, the disturbance is gone. I don't feel anything. And then they were like, oh, well, maybe he hit himself, whatever. And then like, there's a line that he specifically said where he's like, oh, I'm trying to keep you away from him. He's like, so you should probably stay here and I'll go search the mountains. And he's like, no, we'll swap or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, he probably will come back to the ship. But it made it seem like he's trying to keep him away from, from this evil fucking Sith character and I really thought that's where they were going to go. That's 100% what I thought they were going to go.
I think you read into it a little bit too much. Like,
I did.
His Padawan from,
of course, he doesn't want him to be in danger. I know. I know that's what it was.
This is a very classic, like Star Wars story in terms of like, and especially in the Clone Wars, this has happened multiple times where you get a master and a Padawan, and the Padawan is super headstrong, and he's like a moron, and he runs in, and he gets murked, basically. So I was immediately like, okay, he's dead for sure. And then I was like, well, I assume both of them, I was thinking, like, they both have to die, right? Because this is prequel era, before they even know the Sith are back. So if these guys figured out the Sith were back, that would, like, totally throw off Phantom Menace, where Qui-Gon is, like, the first person to discover a Sith in, like, 100 years. So if these guys know and survive, then I was like, how is that going to work? But they kind of explain it away as they're like, well, he probably wasn't a Sith, or he used to be one or something. So they weren't like, they're definitely back. So I guess it makes sense. But I wasn't expecting him to actually survive. I was like, how did he live through getting like cut? It seemed like he got cut straight through, didn't it?
Straight through, but he didn't. It was a cut in the front. I did write, and I think we're both in agreement, like you said. I think this is the best mashup of a typical Star Wars story with anime. Like, this is what a typical anime Star Wars would feel like, for sure. I mean, it was still a pretty enjoyable episode, but it definitely had a couple of like, it was just very average. It was average, what you would expect from like a Star Wars anime. That's what it felt like to me. The character designs were pretty cool. You know, the fighting was okay. It was just okay. It was just an okay episode. I don't even have that much to go over it because it was so basic. It really was.
No, I mean, there's not much to say. They go there, they find him, they fight, and that's pretty much it. They don't really, it doesn't really go much beyond that. I mean, he has, he did
die to time. He died to time. He would have actually beaten them had he not been old.
No, he didn't die to, he died. He got him, but what happened is, once he was killed, he released whatever force grip he was using to keep himself alive for unnaturally long. You would assume he used that to extend his life far beyond its normal end.
Yeah, but I'm saying the main, the main master, he flat out said, had this guy been in his youth, he would have fucking creamed us. Like, yeah. So that's what he meant by like he died to time, as in like he was already. I do old.
Also love the idea of seeing a very old Sith, especially because we've seen old Jedi and stuff, and obviously. Anakin and Vader, that sort of thing. Like he's not exactly young, but he's not like that level of old. Like that guy was like 90 and he's still going crazy. So that was a very cool thing to see. I did like that. But yeah, it was a good episode. So episode 8.
I definitely enjoyed it. This one is called Lop and Ocho. Now, this is the one that I personally thought was also very, very good, which I have a feeling the opposite on. The reason that I say this one was very, very good, the reason that I personally love this one is animation was amazing. The animation was so good. The concept of like it being so heavily Japanese with like the families and like this was definitely the most like Japanese inspired episode in my opinion. Besides the Duel, this was definitely like heavily Japanese inspired, and the concept of like she was a runaway and they took her in and she stood by her father. She stood by loving her father because she appreciates everything that was given to her and that she loves the fact that she was loved by him, even though he clearly didn't love her as equals. He says it later on. And then the daughter being rebellious and not in a good way, but being like, the Empire gave us everything. Like, if you fucking do this, like, you're fucking over everybody. But in reality, we know he's not because, I mean, let's be honest, the fucking Empire is trash. He passes down the saber to her, which, by the way, that passing down the lightsaber ritual was awesome. Like, he pulls it out, he hands it off to her, and then he does like that. What did he do specifically? I can't remember. He like activates like this glowing like floor and like he passes down to
something.
her.
Yeah, it's like a symbol appears and
and he explains to her, through the years there was a Jedi that landed here, and through the years we've passed down the saber. We get to see some cool moments. The fact that she's a bunny is so weird to me, but like
that's the one biggest problem I have with this is like that adds absolutely nothing to this episode, and if anything, it takes away from it.
Yeah, because it's not something you see. That's not something you see.
It's not weird to have her be like an alien or anything. It's just that
a bunny,
and not even a bunny. Like it could be like a furry or like type of creature, but it's just the long floppy ears is so not Star Wars.
So weird. It's not Star Wars. You're right, and that's true. I will say that. But the story is what I really enjoyed in the animation. But her character definitely was like bleh. Like this is stupid. But I really enjoyed the story. And this is also something I got invested in because they left it wide open. Like, this was definitely left open for much more. And I would like to see it. I just hate that it's a fucking bunny character because you have all these fucking furry lovers out there that are going to be fucking jacking off to this shit. That's right.
Yeah.
I said that.
That's right. I said it because I'm one of them. And I know.
But I mean, yeah, like I still really, really did like enjoy the story to it. Like she was supposed to be the head of the family and she decided to reject it and, you know, go for the bad guys. I just really like that. I also play a lot of like the Yakuza games. So that's part of the reason that I really like it. Basically reminded me of like a Yakuza style-esque story.
Yeah, I think though you should probably start, especially with this, maybe less so with What If, I guess we'll see, but this especially, I feel like you should keep your hopes extraordinarily tempered for ever seeing anything as a sequel to any of these episodes. Like I have high doubts that they'll ever continue any of this. I mean, they might make another season of this, but I don't think they would ever continue any of these episodes. I think they're very, very one-off. Yeah, it'd be cool for some of them for sure.
Then we have episode 9.
Episode 9, Akakiri.
Animation, very different. Compared to everything else, extremely different. But it does grow on you. It does grow on you. Not necessarily bad.
Yeah, I'd say the best element of it is the way that they animated the lightsabers with the kind of the way it's like the delayed like after shades of like when they swing it, like it's like lagging behind. Like that was the coolest part of that for me of this animation style for sure.
Overall, this was kind of bleh. It was the shortest episode. It was slightly the least interesting. It's like the only thing that saves this episode is the end. The ending is very fucking cool. It was very mind-blowingly awesome because, like, it's like, oh, what if this had happened with Anakin? You know what I mean? Because what ends up happening is what I wanted to see is somebody turns to the dark side to save his loved one, of course. But he saves her. It's not like it's not like Anakin.
But then he leaves her, so it's like, what is that?
Yes,
what are you saving
but
her for?
because he has to, because he's a man of his word. That's exactly what that leads towards. He's a man of his word. He promised his loyalty. And not only that, if he decides to attack him, they're just going to kill his loved one. He knows that. So now he has to stick with the fucking Sith and become partnered with him if he wants to make sure his loved one survives. That's literally all it is. The only thing that saves it is the end. The rest of it's kind of just like, okay, can we just
I was a little like, I didn't even... She's a princess, I guess.
Yeah, she's a princess. The story was dumb.
That's her sister or something, the main Sith or something, and like she turned evil and kicked them out, and now they're going back up. Shit. It was very,
it's very uninteresting.
In and out of my mind a little bit.
Yep, except for the ending, everything else is very blah with this episode. I think this is the weakest one for sure.
Weakest.
Yeah, it's definitely the weakest in my opinion.
Maybe.
It's the weakest. I even think they knew it was the weakest just by the length that they gave it. It was literally the shortest one.
I did like that it was a good end to the series.
Yeah, to the whole
in terms
series,
of the end and to end on that like kind of darker note. Certainly the darkest episode of the series.
Yes,
which I like.
It's definitely yes, for sure.
So maybe we'll see more of that in the future.
I wrote an overall. I did have one gripe with the show, which we'll talk about here in a second, but the show was beyond my expectations. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. We had great animations. We had pretty great stories. It was fun to watch. I would definitely love to see more of this. Now, my downside to this whole thing is they focused way too much. And I know people are not going to agree with this, but they focused too much on Jedis.
I thought you were going to say that because I was thinking that too once we got towards the end. I was like, they haven't done any sort of episode on like I don't know, like a Han Solo type or literally anything else. Like,
nothing. And let's be honest. Star Wars has lore beyond Jedis, and they had the potential to give us a bounty hunter. They had potential to give us, like a Han Solo-esque character. Dude, they had the potential to give us more ship battles. It had potential to do more with different lore characters. So they did focus too much on Jedis. Still very great, but give me more of other characters. Don't just give me Jedis. Like, I want to see... Don't give me a fucking rock band either, but give me other characters besides Jedis, because even the leader of that fucking rock band was still a Jedi at some point.
Yeah, well, a Padawan at least.
A Padawan, yeah. But I mean, overall,
there's always room for that in whatever they do next. I mean, it's certainly not that it necessarily confirms that there will be a second season, but it's listed as season 1 on Disney Plus. I mean, as long as it's successful enough, which I imagine it will be, like this has a lot of wide appeal for like it's very family friendly, and I can't imagine I wouldn't be surprised if they made it in a season at all.
And if you're gonna make it ridiculous, it's fine. Make it ridiculous, but don't make it so ridiculous where it kind of takes it away. Because that one episode did take away from it. It was still very cool. It really was. But it did take away from it. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't blown away by it in any way. It was a cool thing to see, and they definitely could do a lot more with it. I mean, honestly, it would be maybe even cooler to have much more of like a very focused actual Star Wars anime show.
Yeah,
Just
I
done
agree
by
with
one
that.
studio and maybe set in literally any era and just really like hone in on that. Could be very cool, but who knows? The future could hold anything.
But yeah, I mean, I really did, for the most part, enjoy. Let's hope they, like you said, they do more, and let's just not make it as ridiculous
Yeah.
with that one episode. That lightsaber thing, it was cool, and I enjoyed the episode. It's just that lightsaber was a little too big.
It's a little bit too big. Size it down by about 20%, and maybe I'll let it slide.
It was like the super animeist, most fucking anime thing I've ever seen. But
Yeah, it was like honestly though. I mean, I guess it's not It's not that crazy because now we have, thanks to Rise of Skywalker, we have the like to me it reminded me of immediately of Palpatine having his ridiculous lightning
oh
blast thing
yeah,
that he did
blast,
in that
yeah,
movie. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh god, that might be why I disliked it so much because it's just like it's on that level of like this is not a thing. Like we're not doing this. Just stop.
But anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and end this episode. I actually am curious if you guys want to see us go over these Star Wars movies. Like, please, by all means, let us know. I mean, I think we still want to do that, but I want to make sure we have people that are watching and have interest in it.
I think what we'll do for sure is I would say we'll set up a poll maybe based off of maybe the next thing that we're going to go through once we get closer towards the end of Marvel, and then we'll just go with whatever's chosen.
Yeah,
maybe put it between a couple things like maybe Star Wars,
DC,
and then
Star Wars,
DC,
Lord of the
Star
Rings.
Wars, yeah.
I
Lord
am
of the Rings.
100% down for Lord of the Rings.
Well, we would do. I think maybe if we did it, we'd do Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit like all together. Right?
All together,
like,
of course. Yeah, we're not going to separate that. Yeah.
That would actually be a good one to do, maybe in lead up to the show coming out. But who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see how and when we get all this done.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. See ya.